Rest of this week and the following week. Art will not be with us. My name is Charlie Rude, sitting in for Art today. I know that Jonathan Dent will handle some shows. I believe Joe Volk is coming in tomorrow, and Matt Falon will make a return too to do some hosting duties as far as how we maintain what's going on for the Art Lewis shows, focus as well. And we appreciate you being with us. And again, Art will return after next week. On the Art Lewis Show at this time, this hour, we're going to start. I want to have a conversation, and this has to do with a local organization, which I'm going to say is probably representative of many of organizations that we have in the community to help those that are in need. And some of that help does get tied into what's going on with local government, state government, and certainly federal government. And we want to have a conversation this morning to get a little idea of how there is an effect on this particular organization and how you might be able to help when it comes to the needs for this organization to help those that they serve in the area. And that's why we're going to have a conversation this morning. We're going to say good morning to you, Steve Rowe from Safe Harbor in Bay City. Steve, good morning to you, sir. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Charlie. Thank you so much for allowing us to share with the folks our needs.
Yeah, Steve, how do we officially refer to you as far as your involvement with Safe Harbor?
Well, I'm the executive director of Safe Harbor.
Okay. Can't get much more higher than that when we're talking what's going on with Safe Harbor. And for that matter, Steve, for those who might not be aware, if I were to say describe Safe Harbor and what does Safe Harbor do?
We feed Bay County. We are the largest food organization in Bay County. Although we're still the youngest, we've been around since 2015. The last several years, we've served over 1.5 million pounds of food back into Bay County, along with 25,000 takeout meals. And we do food, and we do it well.
And when you say that you are serving these meals, to who are you serving? Is there a particular segment? Is there somebody that has to be qualified? Are there parameters? Or is it, if you need food, come to Safe Harbor?
Well, on our Monday program, it's Bay County residents only. The Tuesday program, we're in partnership with the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan, so anyone can come that has a need. We certainly try to target just our Bay County residents, because Bay County, out of the tri-counties, is the county that registers in the red, meaning that they have the deepest need and the fewest food outlets for folks to get help.
Really?
Yes.
Man. And again, to emphasize, since we are talking Safe Harbor, located in Bay City and serving, as you said, Bay County, there are many organizations that serve certainly other areas too that a lot of people rely on. For the people that you serve, Steve, you need access, obviously, to food in order to serve. Where does that access come from? Where do you get that food that you use to serve those in need?
Well, we have a couple of options that we use. The food bank has been a wonderful partner, along with Hidden Harvest out of Saginaw. They're incredible folks as well, working really hard in our community. And we have a route now we've set up where we actually go pick up stuff from the Dollar Generals and some of the local 7-Elevens and Gordons to help, with our Monday pantry in particular, stuff that can go right back out that's perishable. And then just trying to get funding from our local community to help keep things moving.
And if I were to ask you, Steve, who comes to you for that help, I don't know. Is there a description that you can offer? Is there a way to quantify and say these are the people that come to us because they are in the most need? Is it those that because they're unemployed or because they have families
No, COVID changed everything. It really did. And since COVID, we've picked up many senior citizens that, maybe were fearful. They didn't know who we were yet. But once they come here, they realize the caring volunteers. Charlie, we have the greatest volunteers, I think, in Bay County. They're here, rain, sleet, snow. Our Tuesday program happens every single week unless it falls on a holiday. They're out there, rain, sleet, snow. We've even had a couple tornadoes that have passed through, and they're here working. So we have some great volunteers that help keep it running. So we don't qualify people. We leave that up to God and their own personal choices. Some probably need it more than others. But for example, yesterday, because of the scare or the warning or the real challenges of the SNAP and the WIC program being paused, yesterday was our largest one-day Monday pantry increase of first-time visitors that we've ever had in all the time we've had our Monday pantry.
And this is one of the reasons we really wanted to have a chance to have a conversation, because of what's going on with the government shutdown, the pause of SNAP. And I think, and you are certainly, I'm sure, closer to this, Steve, than I am, that an announcement came that basically, November 1st, there is not funding of any kind that's going to come forth.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. And my whole thought is, even if the government comes back online today, you and I both know it just seems like a long time for them to get the machine running back. So we're preparing Safe Harbor to really help people through November and December, because we see this increased need, so we need increased funding. Obviously, it's an unbudgeted expense. So we're trying to buy more food from Myers, from the food bank, at higher costs than we normally would go after it. But we need to get the food in here so we make sure that we have it here to help our community.
You talked about what you found yesterday with the people that turned out. Are you receiving people that are just showing up in person, or do people call and ask, hey, what help can you give me? Are you getting an increase in the inquiries as well?
Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah. This morning we had probably 15 calls, because currently right now as we speak, there is a mass food giveaway that we did Tuesday. It is going. Our parking lot is full. I'm going to guess close to 800 people will get food today from Safe Harbor and the Food Bank of Michigan.
We're talking with Steve Rowe. He's the executive director of Safe Harbor in Bay City. As he said, we feed Bay County. And he and other organizations throughout the Great Lakes Bay area are in need, and perhaps in greater need because of what's happening with what's going on with the shutdown. We're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up. We've got to take a break here. And ways that you might be able to help out, too, Safe Harbor, so that Safe Harbor can help those who are in need. And we'll do that when we come back. The Art Lewis Show, Charlie and for Art this morning on WSGW.
We're proud to make
All right, Art Lewis Show, Charlie for Art this morning. And we're spending a few more minutes with our special guest, the executive director from Safe Harbor in Bay City, Steve Rowe, who want to make sure that we get the message out of the need as Safe Harbor serves a need. Specifically, we're talking about when it comes to Bay County. Although you said, Steve, Tuesday is the day you're open for all. Is that?
Yeah, because this is a semi that comes from the Eastern Food Bank of Michigan out of Flint, and so we can't put a criteria on it for just Bay County. But I just try to promote Bay County because I know our need is huge, and it has been, and we can't seem to get caught up in our county because there's just not enough distributing organizations.
Sure, and I understand that. And as I've said, there are other organizations we know and other communities that serve their local communities specifically. As you understand that, you're right there in whatever community you're serving. Have you talked with your counterparts, Steve, and other organizations?
Matter of fact, we had an emergency meeting on Monday put together by United Way and the Bay Area Community Foundation. So we had a Zoom call on Monday with the group of us in the network, just trying to brainstorm, trying to, kind of get in preparation to what might be coming. We're going to be meeting again on Thursday to discuss, kind of what we've seen, what's sensed. And I can tell already, our numbers are up about 45% looking at just Monday. And so we're really working hard together to get some additional food into Bay County.
If I were to ask, and if you can't say, I understand, as you said, you're in discussions and talks. I mean, Are there any ideas that come right to the forefront of saying, hey, this is something that we can do right now that would have impact, or is this something that would be time consuming to have the impact that you're talking about?
Well, what we're trying to do is, we know right now in Bay County there's nearly 17,000 residents that get SNAP program that are on it. So they're done. I mean, they don't have anything for November. So we're working as a coalition together, trying to get food dropped off. For those that might want to drop off food, can be dropped off to the United Way in Bay City, and then they'll work on distributing that to the different food organizations as there's communication between us. We'll know more on Thursday on that, but right now they could drop off food items to the United Way of Bay County, or try to direct it off directly to us at Safe Harbor. But I don't want to exclude what we're trying to do as a network to help the entire Bay County. And the same thing with those that might be interested financially, that know folks at the Bay Community Foundation and trust them. We can take extra funds, and they're going to divvy those up as a form of food cards, the way it sounds. Or they can go to safeharborkitchen.com and donate directly to Safe Harbor online, and know that the funding stays here in Bay County.
You said that's safeharborkitchen.com?
Yes.
So let me break this up in a couple of different ways. I would assume financially, that's you'll take what people can give, obviously. If people are actually donating product, is there a particular need of any type that you would say, here's what we need? If you have food, if you have product you can donate, here's what we need, what would you say?
Soups would be our big need. That's soups or meal, like hamburger helpers, those type of things that they can make into meals, or canned pastas, things that are already kind of pre-made for folks to make meals of. It's easy to say, oh, here's a can of peas and vegetables, and I get that, but we're talking about an immediate need that we're trying to take care of over the next at least 30 days and possibly 60 days to get them through the Christmas season.
Would I assume, and please tell me if I'm wrong, that the more, I guess for lack of a better term, shelf life, we talk about non-perishable food, you're looking for things that have some stability?
Yes. The thing about funding, if I can get funding, then I can buy bulk, and that's what we need. Charlie, yesterday we went through 2,400 just pantry items. That doesn't include all the perishable stuff we give away. So you have to try to replace that, and that doesn't include what we're going to give out today. It is a huge demand when you give out 1.5 million pounds of food to a community.
So on that aspect, going back to the financial donation, because of your ability to make those purchases, and I would guess then you could also purchase exactly what you knew was necessary for the bulk of the help that was needed. So you could use that money and perhaps turn it into a better way for the distribution than if you're actually receiving a product. You'll take the product, but boy, that financial need is of the utmost.
Correct, because I can buy, if the food bank has stuff very inexpensive, much more inexpensive than going to a Kroger's or a Meijer's, which we have Meijer's support too, which is wonderful. But because of the food bank's buying power through the USDA and some other things, is a lot cheaper. I can get a lot bigger bang for the buck. And I could have it on my truck next Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we would really have tons of food for everyone to continue to carry through.
All right. So let's kind of recap here, Steve. Again, Steve Rowe, the Executive Director of Safe Harbor in Bay City. And you have a direct need for the financial, and this is, well, it's already something that's needed now. You are in a situation where you know that it's going to continue to build if it's already not building, especially what's involved in the government shutdown. And I think when we talk about this, you phrased it as the pause of the SNAP, the program. You have expectations once the government shutdown's done that this will once again start up again, but it's just a matter of how long it's going to take to get it started, so people who need the help are going to get the help.
Correct.
All right, so then once again, help us out. How do we make these donations, especially financially, we're looking for? What's the best thing to do, Steve?
The best thing to do is to do it online, because that's the quickest, most effective way. Again, that's safeharborkitchen.com.
Safe
And
Harbor.
certainly we'll take donations here at 706 Joseph as well.
Or stop by in person. There you go. And
Sure.
And you mentioned that you have incredible volunteers, but if anyone might be interested, maybe that might be what they can do. Perhaps they can't do that financial, but they can certainly give some time. How can people go about finding out how to give some time to you, Steve?
Again, they can go online to that safeharborkitchen.com, fill out a volunteer application. That comes directly to me. I review them, and as long as everything checks off on a background check, we'll respond to them right away. Because we can use volunteers on Tuesdays, really from 8 to about 11:30, quarter to 12.
All right. Well, we wish you well, Steve, and we appreciate you having a chance to talk to us so we can get the word out and let folks know what's going on.
You.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we know that Bay County will do well, and we thank you for all the listeners that will support us.
All right, Steve, thanks again. Steve Rowe, the Executive Director of Safe Harbor in Bay City. SafeHarborKitchen.com, easiest thing to do, SafeHarborKitchen.com. A story that you're hearing from Safe Harbor, but I'm sure it's a story that you'd be hearing in other places too, in your specific local community perhaps, of an organization that's going to be in need as it does what it can to help those who are served. We'll come back with more. Charlie in for the Art Lewis Show on WSTW in a moment.
Atticus has a new fungicide product.
And a story I'm sure is playing out in a lot of different ways. In fact, there's any number of different news articles and updates that are being brought forth when it comes to the need for the state of Michigan, for example. About 1.4 million people in Michigan get the food assistance benefits. Nearly 13% of households. And there are questions not just, as Steve was talking about, specifically in Bay County, but what's happening across the state. You know, next week, we are going to engage the 40th edition of the WSW Food for Families campaign, where we have worked with the Salvation Army, for example. And we'll have various businesses that will act as collection points for you to donate non-perishable food items that the Salvation Army will use for their particular services. And there are many organizations that do this. The number of outlets for food, household item giveaways has grown. Where it used to be, I don't know if specialized is the right word I'm looking for. When we first started Food for Families 40 years ago, it was just nothing that didn't happen on a widespread basis. The need was always there, but the organizational effort that it takes in order to collect food and then to distribute is immense. And then the organizations that do so, as helpful as they are and as needed as they are, there has always been the question and the concern, and it still goes on today, and in some cases, unfortunately, rightfully so, about who is in need and who deserves that help. You'd like to think that people that didn't need help wouldn't be trying to seek it, but we know that happens. And then you get into the qualifications and some of the parameters that are necessary. Some of the ways that some of the assistance is offered, that there are demands for certain work or educational requirements. It's a tough system that is in place, a necessary system, but yet it's a system that does, and no pun intended here, in some ways tax the taxpayer, who already, for people who want to help out and do, in their own particular households, where they might be fortunate where they are being able to pay for whatever food and household items, whatever for their household budget they can afford to, but yet we know costs are going up across the board there. And this is nothing new, by the way. This has been going on for as long as life has been going on. Might get more attention paid because there are more outlets and more ways that we can pay attention or we can bring information. Anyway, the need's there. And if you can help out with Specifically, we're talking with Safe Harbor or other organizations in your local community when it comes to us with our Food for Families campaign. And, in just another month and a half, we're going to have our annual radiothon with a whole other need when it comes to the rescue ministries of Michigan. And we know that people generously will step up and make donations to help that organization and the needs that are served throughout the area. Anyway, hey, let's take a phone call here and find out what's going on with Carl, who's calling in from Saginaw. Carl, hey, good morning to you. Thanks for holding on there, sir. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Charlie. This week, of course, Friday night's Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
We have the arson watch in Saginaw on Thursday and Friday night, and we're always looking for volunteers. There's information on Facebook under Saginaw Arson Watch, and we're looking for drivers to drive around. They give you a light to put on your car. You get a gas card. You get a free hot dog. And if you want more information, go on Facebook.
And you said that's with Saginaw Arson Watch, right?
Yes. And it's going to be Thursday night and Friday night this week.
Do you, Carl, if somebody would say, hey, I'd like to help out if I can, do you have time parameters? Is it for several hours or whatever you can give, or how does that work?
Yeah, they hope that somebody can go out for maybe about 2 hours, and they've got different shifts, like 7 to 9, 9 to 11, that kind of thing. And you just use your own car and have a cell phone, and you drive around, and if you see anything, you do not intervene yourself. You just call, and they take it from there.
And you've been involved in this for a number of years, Carl, haven't you, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from some past conversations?
Yes, we have.
And for those that...
And it seems to have made a difference, over the last 10 years or so. The number of arsons has gone way down. Sometimes they have one, or sometimes it's just somebody was burning some trash in their backyard or something, but it seems to make a difference.
Well, I was going to say, unfortunately, what was the genesis of needing this was the incredible number, unfortunately, and it wasn't just in Saginaw. Detroit got famously sought out for people who would come just to see what was going on, but because of organizations that you're talking about and because of the attention being paid to the community, yeah, you're right. I mean, I hope it continues, but it's been to the point where it seems the last several years, in fact, that you talk about, that if there is anything going on, it was just basically your general number of calls that you get on a night anyway, nothing extra.
Right, yes. And thankfully in Saginaw, we have a lot less vacant buildings than we did a few years ago. So that's helping. Oh,
boy. Amen to that. It's amazing to drive through some of the areas of Saginaw where you've seen some of the removal of the vacant homes and how it's opened up some of those spaces and what people have done with them. It's an incredible turnaround. It really is.
Yes, and considering Saginaw has done so much under the tax cap, I think it amazes me. They're still working on the taxes from 1979 levels, So
yeah,
that's another issue.
It is, but boy, it's an interesting issue. The history on that's for sure. All right, well, we'll put the word out, Carl. Yeah. We appreciate that. Again, Saginaw Arson Watch, best thing to do is on Facebook. Check it out for Thursday and Friday. Make sure that everything stays safe.
Yes, and like I said, you get a free gas card. They have hot dogs and snacks, and get some more information if you want to help.
Sounds good, Carl. We'll look forward to a quiet Thursday and Friday for what's going on in the Halloween time in Saginaw. Thanks for your call this morning.
Right. Happy Halloween.
And you too. There's a good reminder and success story for sure of what used to happen. Things have happened and we don't ignore. but we like to build upon the success. It might have been a negative reason that something had to be developed in the first place, but a negative turned into a positive for sure. We'll be back with more on the Art Lewis Show on WSGW. Again, if you want to squeeze your call in, we'll take it. 989-752-6111.
December 30th at Soaring Eagle.
To build upon that announcement you just heard for Saginaw Valley State University in our first hour of the Art Lewis Show, when I was sitting in, I welcomed J.J. Boehm, who his real job, Executive Director of Communications for Saginaw Valley State University. But we had him in this morning to talk about the changed landscape of college sports, to what it was just a couple of years ago to what it is today with the transfer portal, the name, image, and likeness money that is just amazing. And what happens at the very highest levels, especially when we're talking about of the elite athletes that we know are probably going to be doing professional sports. And we focused a lot on football because that's where a lot of the attention is. Happens in basketball. It can happen in any sport, actually. But those are the ones that get the bulk of the attention, bulk of the money, the bulk of the revenue that happens at the college level of sports. And while it does happen at Division I most notably, there's some that filters down into even the SVSU D2, Northwood D2, the aspects. Just perhaps not as much. But it certainly changed the landscape of the athlete-student or the student-athlete, however it's referred. Upon that, though, and the conversation we just had earlier this hour with Steve Rowe, the Executive Director of Bay County, and the need of food and such. Jeff from Bay City sent me an email message here. And he noted what we talked about in the first hour and all the money, the incredible amounts of money that are available, especially for college sports, especially when it comes to television revenue and things like that. And JJ at one point pointed out how the head coach of Penn State and the head coach of LSU, James Franklin and Brian Kelly, respectively, have both been recently fired, and both are going to be getting $15 million each, about that, for the rest of their contracts, not to coach. And Jeff's point was, wouldn't it be nice if we could have some of that money that has found its way into such as the world of college sports that could filter down into the communities? And I get that. Boy, I get that. And you think about that all the time, that you talk about incredible amounts of money that are available in the world, not just collegiately, but also professionally in sports. And, that's a whole conversation. But I will say that I am confident, and I know this happens, when it comes to athletes who are fortunate enough to have high earned incomes, when it comes to even organizations that make monies available, that there's a lot of charitable monies that are made available to organizations, and a lot of broadcast time that's made available to promote organizations and help that's necessary, because it always comes down to the communities themselves. We talk about the things that are going on from a federal government level, be it the help for government assistance of food or what have you. It starts at the federal level, but has got to filter down to the local level at some point. Now, we can argue the merits of that. Why should it go to the federal level and then come back to us? Why can't it just stay here in the first place and have to filter down? Why can't we just filter it up from where we are right here to those in need? Again, it's a whole nother conversation that we don't have time for, and different perspectives and opinions that we could talk about when it comes to that. But Jeff and Base, I appreciate that message, and to your point